And we're talking about acts of kindness, philanthropy, and on Africa World Hour, we look at a very inspiring story of hope and generosity. Kamogelo Motaung, a grade 12 learner from Mahikeng, had been living with cataracts in both eyes for over a year, and he was facing the terrifying prospects of total blindness. Thanks to the intervention of ophthalmologist Dr. Tebogo Maleka and his team, Kamogelo underwent life-changing surgery just in time to continue with his matric exams. Dr. Maleka joins us now in studio to reflect on what moved him to act and the challenges of cataracts in young people, and of course the role of philanthropy in dealing with particularly vulnerable communities. Dr. Maleka, thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate it. I know it's late at night, but I when I saw, in fact, it was Jaco who brought the story to my attention. I know it was done by one of my colleagues, Tabang, and I must congratulate her. I'm just curious about what moved you to say, I'm going to step in and change this young man's life.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's pretty much obvious. I mean, this grade 10 learner, when I heard the story, it was just heartbreaking that he was writing prelim or preparation exams for matric finals, and the teachers had to read out the examination paper to him, and he would say the answers back for them to put them down on a piece of paper for it to be marked later. And that's...
Did you see yourself in him, just in terms of having a future, a hope, and perhaps even feeling helpless?
You know, it's heartbreaking. It's a young, intelligent young man, and for him to be going through this at I think matric is the most important year of your life, career-wise, and for him to be going through that, not seeing, it was just going to be a disaster if we had let him get to year end in that condition where he couldn't see a thing.
And with a lot of us, it's an occupational hazard, isn't it? That your mind starts going into overdrive. So did you start thinking or asking yourself, I wonder how long the situation has been going on? And if you just can take us through the scientific medical aspect of it, cataracts, exactly what are they? We often think of them as something that afflict older people. So tell me what was going through your mind, and when you eventually did examine him, what did you find?
The cataracts, yes, happen in the over 60s, average age being 65, and but they can happen in young people. Kids can be born actually from day one. They can have cataracts, rarely so, but they do happen. And in Kamogelo's age, when you're a teen, it's mainly from metabolic disorders, diabetes. Is the commonest cause of cataracts in that age group, but it can be from trauma, it can be from eye conditions, infections, it can be from a whole myriad of systemic diseases. And when they reached out to me to say this young man cannot see, the first step is just to organize and get somebody to bring him in and have a look. You just have an open mind. There can be 101 things that can cause blindness in that age group. And personally, cataracts were not, it was not the first thing I thought of. I thought it was going to have, normally in that age group, it's corneal disorders where you have abnormalities of the front part of your eye. That's the commonest cause of blindness in that age group. I thought it was going to be that, but cataract, I would say, is part of the top 5.
And obviously, out of respect for Kamogelo, we don't want to, breach his legal rights over his personal information. What are the signs that parents ought to look out for? As you say, it does occur in children based on a number of factors, but to ensure that we have good eye health, a lot of parents in disadvantaged areas either don't know about regular eye tests, or there is a lack of means, or and naturally as we wouldn't know what signs to look out for where complications would develop.
It's mainly behavioral science. I mean, a child would stand very close to the television, or they would hold reading material very close to their face, and that would suggest that they have something, going on with their eyesight. But kids can adapt. They can hide the signs, not intentionally, obviously, but they can,
Because they cope.
they can cope very well with the disability, and sometimes it takes an observant, especially outsider, the grandmothers, to notice that the kid, there's something odd that's happening with the child.
Now, prevalence, is it more likely in rural communities, these types of afflictions? And Limpopo, I think I read somewhere saying that there's a high prevalence of cataracts in adult communities. Does it have anything to do with the environment or the living conditions?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's just that I would say people in the big cities have access to specialists like me, and they can readily come in. And quite a lot of, I would say, even affluent families that do not have anything wrong with their eyesight would come in for regular checkups just to, have their eyes checked. But in rural communities, there's a lack of healthcare providers, and people tend to live with the symptoms, hoping that they will get better over time. And normally patients that come out, or people that come from rural areas, tend to come through with advanced disease, just like Kamogelo did. Waited over a year without seeing. By the time we saw him, I would say the cataracts that were in him were the most dense I've seen this year.
How would you describe that? I mean, what we know is that it's almost like a veil that covers your eyes. So, from a medical term, when you say it's the most dense, how do you measure? Is it centimeters? Is it,
So, an eye has a lens in it that lets the light through to go stimulate the back of the eye, the retina, the membrane that captures the light and converts it into a signal that the brain can understand. So that lens, just like a lens in your, I would say, glasses in your camera.
Don't worry, they know I wear these. I need them.
The lens has to be crystal clear, but it's made of protein, of a crystal clear protein. And with, there's conditions that will make this lens lose its clarity, and it just goes milky. It becomes a dirty window. Initially you see a little bit of smoky vision, then it gets denser and denser to a point where no light is let through into your eye, and you're just living in total darkness.
Now I want to go back to the issue of philanthropy. You obviously did this out of the goodness of your heart, and I don't imagine it's the first time you do it or the last time you do it. What is the importance of philanthropy in eye health, particularly in vulnerable communities? It's obviously not a sustainable thing, but it obviously does play a very important role for people who probably would end up blind, or as you say about Kamogelo, who would end up not having an opportunity to make their dreams come true simply because they were born in lack or born beyond access.
Yeah, there's a few organizations that offer, eye services in these kind of communities, but we're not even scratching the problem. We're not saying hello to the problem. It's the need is so vast. We do the best we can, but
how would you categorize it when you say it's vast? And let's say if you make a comparison of 1 in 10 people, how many actually?
So, especially in the elderly, just this particular problem, okay? At the age of 65, we would say almost 80% of patients have some form of cataracts. So you can imagine all the elderlies in the rural communities at that age, way before 70. The vast majority of them are actually in need of cataract surgery. And you find communities where there is not even a single center that offers cataract surgery. And we have a lot of the elderly that's supposed to be enjoying their twilight years at that age, and
They're struggling with
they
their vision.
simply can't see.
What would need to change in health policy to divert resources to, reduce the problem?
We need to train more specialists that are prepared to work and be in those communities. And maybe NHI one of these days might address these problems, but there's simply not enough, unfortunately.
And now talk to me then about mentorship programs and outreach to encourage students to enter ophthalmology. What do you see yourself doing? What do you see others out there doing in order to achieve this?
When I trained, I remember with Verts, they were producing like just a few, four per year back in the day. Now the number, I believe, has more than tripled, but we need way more. There's about 8 or 10 training institutions around the country, with Vets University being the biggest producer of eye specialists. We have about, I would say, around 350 to 400 eye specialists in the country to serve the 60 million population in South Africa, and that's simply not enough, I think. But the training is getting better in terms of producing specialists in South Africa, but we definitely need more.
Just a final quick question. What made you think I want to be an ophthalmologist?
Yeah, it's a long story, but as a young man playing football in high school, I got a ball to my eye.
Why did I think it was
football into my eye? I remember going into what I think was an eye specialist back then with a sore eye, and I immediately left the rooms of the specialist with a comfortable eye, and I didn't think much of it. Then I went to medical school, and when I did the ophthalmology rotation in medical school, which is just 2 weeks out of the 6 years of training, there's very little ophthalmology training when you are in your undergrad, and it reignited that wish, dream, or the urge to want to do something with the eyes, and that's how I ended up taking this further. And I used to wear glasses, by the way.
Okay.
And
makes sense.
And I hated them in high school. You were not popular with the girls and whatnot because you wore glasses.
Before you take out all of your secrets, Dr. Maleka, let's end it there.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming here, Dr. Tebogo Maleka. We talk about transforming lives, the wonderful work that he's doing in ophthalmology, and let's end the show now. But coming up next is Sheila Kumana with African Diaries.